and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the conclusion of the UK Sim Racing Community's Porsche Cup Season 5, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone through 8 venues and 16 rounds of racing, and it has come to this, the conclusion in the United States of America, that none other than the state of Florida at the Sebring International Raceway, which, as you can see on the pictures behind us currently, all the drivers are getting ready to go racing for 2 final races today in rounds 17 and 18 at the circuit, which has been likened to a tougher and more aggressive version of Le Mans, and we'll tell you a little bit more about why shortly. But this circuit, located on an old Army Air Force base all the way dating back to 1950 when it opened, well, the circuit has remained the same throughout its history, and while the oldest road racing circuit in the United States of America, its combination of asphalt and concrete slab tarmac surfaces means that this is a circuit like no other when it comes to racing. Hard and fast, aggressive, and multitude of corners and straights. There's a little bit for everybody here, and in the Porsche Cup 992 machine, our drivers will be putting themselves through the paces to end their season on the ultimate high. But who will be able to do so, given the fact that we've wrapped up our championship campaigns in the drivers' classes, and therefore it comes down to the team's championship and who are going to be the runners-up? Well, we're going to find out all that and more very shortly. But as we get ready to get underway, you're tuning live by the official UKSimRacing YouTube channel, and if you are tuning today and you're not following the channel already in terms of being subscribed, then why not do so to stay up to date of all the latest broadcasts available by UK Sim Racing week in, week out. In the quarantine booth, you have myself. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will bring you all of your racing action tonight. But as we look ahead in terms of what lays in store tonight, let's do a quick recap of the season so far. Indeed, we're on the 2nd of March today, and what a time it has been in 2023 so far. And if we cast our minds back all the way to the 5th of January, we opened up in rounds 1 and 2 at the British circuit of Alton Park, and there on the no roadways of Alton Park, we got to see our drivers battle hard in the Cheshire countryside. And well, there was drama in both races, but particularly in the conclusion of the feature race, where we got to see the battle for the gold wing go down to the wire. End of the week from now, the 12th of January, it was all about the sprint race at Interlagos in rounds 3 and 4, where at the Brazilian circuit we saw a nasty incident off the start line in the sprint, and many of our gold and silver drivers falling victim to that incident, but in the end those who did not fall victim to it managed to pick up a plethora of points in their place. But then we wound forward to the 19th of January and made our way back to continental Europe for the French circuit of the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, and in rounds 5 and 6 it was the rise of Roxanne Marshall who picked up the first wins of her championship campaign, indeed in the whole career of the UK Sim Racing at Porsche Cup, and making a double on the spot there. And we also saw the rise and the introduction of Philipp Hammer, who absolutely delivered there with a double in the gold class. And on the 26th of January, we made our way to neighbouring Germany for rounds 7 and 8 at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit. We got to see the tight and twisty turns of the arena sections, fought many, but it was Philipp Hammer there who delivered in the feature race, going from 7th all the way through to the win in the feature race in the final 10 minutes in what was an absolutely death-defying display of overtaking nimbleness. Then in rounds 9 and 10, to make our way into the halfway point of the season, we headed to neighbouring Norway for the Rudskogen Motorcenter circuit, and on the 2nd of February we got to see Philipp Hammer's run of wins on the spot come to a conclusion with 5 wins out of 6 there, and in the feature race not quite able to put ground on all of his rivals, but Rudskogen delivering in terms of overtaking opportunities. And then we made our way into the second half of the season on the 9th of February with our initial visit to the United States of America, and in particular to Detroit City in the state of Michigan for the Belle Isle Grand Prix circuit. And in rounds 11 and 12 we saw the walls were close and many a driver made contact with the wall, but those who steered clear made sure to bring home major points, including Cameron Willacy in the gold class. And then at Road America, which followed on the 16th of February, we made our way to the state of Wisconsin for the picturesque countryside there, and Road America, one of the classics of American racing, and it delivered up a classic in terms of the racing action in both the sprint and the feature. That was rounds 13 and 14, and last time out on the 23rd of February we made our way to Spain for the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia, the historic layout, and in rounds 15 and 16 we got to see the return of none other than one of our Australian drivers. It was Corey Lazarus who flew high and brought on home his first win of the series in the feature race after breaking away from the field after clearing Ash England. And really for Lazarus it was all about trying to outrun Philipp Hammer to the finish, and he managed to do so. There was no questions asked. But today, round 17 and 18, we are here back in the United States in Florida for the Sebring circuit, and how will the curtain come on down? Well, as we make our way into into today's racing, let's give you a reminder as well of the standings after 16 of 18 rounds. And we can see here, starting with the Gold Drivers' Championship class, that Philipp Hammer leads the way at 198 points. And we're a 50-point advantage there for WS Racing Esports over Willacy Racing's Karen Willacy. It is mathematically impossible now for Philipp Hammer to be caught and overhauled tonight. That means Crowd Champion effective last time out, but he'll be formally Crowd Champion as of today. It's now for Cameron Willacy to fight for the runner-up spot. And we're 19 points advantage over Lee Holmes for ATX Racing Team Purple. He is looking at favourable. But again, we have seen that the race has been unpredictable. And last time out, we got to see that Lee Holmes is now starting to really find that form that was with him at the start of the season. And Cameron Willacy, by comparison, is now starting to blend a little bit more into the pace set by his rivals and peers. But is it too late in the day, or can Holmes overturn the deficit and find a way to come on through for P2? With Tim Darracott there in P4 for Effect Esports, not in attendance today, it is going to go down to a two-way fight for second place, with Emil Koopmans for Apex Misters having the opportunity to potentially leapfrog Tim Darracott into P4 come the conclusion, but he'll need to get a major score on the board. A third point behind the rivalry for P5, WS Racing Esports is Marcel Fritsch there, who were not in attendance last time out, but back today to conclude his championship campaign, and we'll come to the team's championship. Why it's critical that WS Racing Esports have both their drivers on the tarmac. Then Joe Newman in P7 for Simracing Racing, 1 point clear of Danny Hugendorf for Apex Misters, and again a rivalry for P7, which will see these two go down to the wire, with Nathan Foster for Simracing Racing in a P9 there of 65 points, 9 points clear of Corey Lazarus for Blackout Motorsport New Zealand, who completes the top 10. Then Samuel K. Sprout at the best of the rest there in P11 on 53 points. A good portion of 21 points clear of Simon Bamber, the privateer, with Ryan Walker P13 for Satellite Racing. And then Steve Hughes, Nathan Scott, Dan Blackwell and Andy Jones completing the standings. But as we then come on to the silver class standings, we can see a similar story here with the fact that Ash England leads the way at 195 points, and the Willacy Racing driver effective Crown Champion as the previous rounds, and the reason being the gap between himself and runner-up position holder there, Jack Ward, for Willacy Racing as well, is 39 points. And Jack Ward looked to try and make it so the championship would go down to the wire today, but with the gap being 39 points and the maximum points that are achievable in a given round being 38 points, he's missed out by a single point to continue the championship fight into the season finale. But still, he'll have that advantage there of what is a good margin of 27 points over Craig Shield for ATX Racing Team Cyan, and for Jack Ward it's all about bringing home some key points to make sure he becomes that runner-up. Craig Shield, meanwhile, will need to look rearwards to keep an eye on his teammate, Alistair Hatcher, who 10 points off will be looking to try and take the P3 spot, and with Glenn Humberstone only further 2 points behind for ATX Racing Team Purple. It is going to be a fight of the ATX Racing drivers to see who finishes P3. But let's not count out Shane Piggott in P6 for ATX Racing Team Red on 97 points, with 15 points advantage over Roxanne Marshall for 24-hour Bunty People, looking relatively safe, albeit I do not think Marshall is going to be in attendance tonight. James Kirsoff and Aaron Tressa there, the two privateers, P8, P9 on 74 and 56 points respectively, with the top 10 being completed by Matt Maddox of BDM Racing, who is 12 points clear of Daz Fellows, his teammate, and then we have Ross McFowle following up the best of the rest driver there, the privateer on 24 points, and it's actually covered out from Simracing Racing Academy, and Darren Ills who complete the standings there for ATX Racing Team Red. As we come on to the team standings, meanwhile, we can see here we still have a team's championship to crown, and WS Racing Esports there lead the way on 232 points to Willacy Racing's 253. It's a 19-point gap, and it's easily swingable over the course of the racing tonight. And whilst WS Racing Esports seems to be the favourites, with the pace being set by Philipp Hammer round after round, and also Marcel Fritsch being back in the tents today, let's not count out the fact that Willacy Racing do have the very capable combination of drivers, and they'll all be looking to try and bring on home those key results in order to swing the championship back into their favour. But meanwhile, ATX Racing Team Purple 143 points, only 5 points clear of Apex Business. We also have the battle for P3 to consider, and Simracing Racing the first 15 points behind have a long shot in order to be able to overhaul the pair. Effect Esports at 101 points, looking vulnerable to Blackout Motorsport New Zealand, and with Tim Darracott not in attendance today, we can expect Blackout Motorsport New Zealand to jump ahead into P6 come the conclusion, with a sizable gap there to ATX Racing Team Cyan, extended almost to 50 points to be 49 to be exact, and in P8 there they'll be looking to hold off BDM Racing and 24-hour Bunty People in the hunt for P8 as we make our way to P10 as held by 24-hour Bunty People. Outside the top 10, a further point off Satellite Racing in P11, with 7 points to ATX Racing Team Red in P12. Then we have Simracing Racing Academy and DCW Racing P13 and P14. coming from our standings then, let's talk a little bit more about our circuit for today. And it is the Sebring International Raceway. We're running the full international course layout, with there being 3 variations of this circuit, extending from club all the way out to the international. And this circuit located near Sebring City in the Highlands County of Florida in the United States of America, which you can see from the circuit map provided to us by iRacing.com. Thank you to them for the wonderful simulator and circuit maps. This circuit is technically located still on an operated airfield or set of runways as it is today. But opening in 1950, being opened up on the site of the former Hendricks Army Airfield, which was used to train B-17 pilots during the Second World War. This circuit, with its combination of road surfaces, is likened to be a more aggressive version of the Circuit des 24-Hour de Mans, whereby normally teams looking to compete in the infamous 24-hour race will race in the Sebring 12-hour earlier in the year in order to test their cars, put them through the paces and see what falls off and what needs to be tuned and honed in before they go to Le Mans. Therefore, this circuit is going to be rough and rugged, but it's not just about the road surface, it's also about the plethora of corners. Whereas our drivers make their way across the start finish straight down towards turn 1, they'll go into the extended left hand and they're carrying as much speed as possible, where it's all about balance of the throttle and the pace, and as they come out of turn 1, they'll charge through the Kinker 2 to break the way into turn 3. A very sharp left-hander, deceptively sharp, and as they come through 3 into the right-hander of 4, they'll then brake hard into turn 5 before swinging the car through the big bend flat out at turn number 6 and charging up towards the turn 7 hairpin. And there, as they head into the hairpin, he'll be hard on the brakes while the lowest speed corners on the circuit before they come through the kinks and make their way up towards turn number 10 at Cunningham via the Fangio complex to turns 8 and 9. Flat out through Fangio, they'll head onto the brakes for Cunningham corner at turn 10 before needing to bounce the throttle through the double apexes of Collier corner at turn 11 and charge through the Kinker 12 to brake into Tower corner at turn 13. Of course, the site of the original air control tower there at turn 13, they'll make their way through the right hander, which will be medium speed, before charging all the way down through Bishop at 14 and heading into the right hander complex at turns 15 and 16, known as Le Mans. And there, it's all about balancing the throttle and finding the right directional momentum change balance of the car in order to make sure the rear does not step out and our drivers can carry all the speed onto the Allman Straight, the final stretch before they head into Sunset Bend. Named appropriately, given the fact that when the sun's setting, it covers the entire entry run into the course, whereby our drivers will be worried about the fact the sun will be dipping in the distance and therefore it will obscure their vision, but they'll need to avoid that and break the way into turn 17. The long right hander will they'll need to get as close as possible to the inside wall to hit the apex and then make the way out to the start finish straight, only to do it all again. But just to give you a reminder of our rules that we go racing with, of course, in terms of qualifying, a lone qualifying format shall be used where all of our drivers will take you to an isolated instance of the circuit and they'll have 8 minutes to set their best possible time, an unlimited number of laps. With only 8 minutes, they'll have approximately what will be 2 to 3 laps available. In terms of the races shall commence via a standing start, as is the tradition, with the sprint race grid being set based on the results of qualifying, and the feature race grid being a partial reverse grid based on the results of the sprint race, and the top 8 positions will be inverted. So the winner of the sprint will be started P8 on the grid, meanwhile all the way down to P8. We'll see that inversion where the P8 finisher will start on pole, and then P9 downwards in terms of the finishers of the sprint race. That's exactly where they'll start for the feature race. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements in either of the races, and that means if we see a driver coming into the pits, they'll either picked up damage, or alternatively they'll have picked up a drive-through penalty. And we can see a driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 14 or more instant points, and if they do need to make repairs, they have one fast repair available in each race. That's enough rules and regulation. I know what you're all here for, and as we look back to our pictures, let's bring up our schedule for today. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinated Time at UTC. We're going to begin underway of qualifying in just over 2 minutes time, approximately 8 o'clock this evening for 8 minutes, and then immediately after we head to the grid for the round 17 sprint race. 12 minutes in duration at 10 past 8. Our drivers will be looking to do their utmost to charge clear of the field and bring home those valuable points before taking a brief breather and then return at approximately just before 8:30 this evening for our final race of the season, the round 18 feature race, 30 minutes in duration, 2.5 times the length of the sprint race, and therefore tyre wear and consistency will be a major factor in the feature compared to in the sprint, where it'll be all in, all down action in terms of our drivers driving at 100% throughout the full 12 minutes. But as our drivers get set now, we see many of them still making the way around. They've had the drivers briefing, and of course we can see here our champion in the gold class for this season, Philipp Hammer, making his way through the big bend and down towards turn number 7, and as he comes on through here, we're looking smooth at this time. And for Hammer today, it's all about earning as many points available as possible in order to be able to assist his team, WS Racing Esports, in crowning themselves team's champion. And well, he wasn't in attendance last time out, but Marcel Richards also here currently down in the pit lane, getting set to go as well. So for WX Racing Esports, they'll feel as though they've got the confidence with them and also the pace, but let's not count out the resilience of Willacy Racing. Jack Ward, one of the 2 members in attendance today. Unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing Cameron Willacy, but we will be seeing Ash England and Jack Ward, and therefore these 2 in the silver class will have their work cut out for them. But if anybody can do it, they can, as Ward makes his way out through turn number 5 and into Big Bend at 6. As he comes on around here, of course, we do need to call out that Corey Lazarus in attendance once again today for Blackout Motorsport New Zealand after that emphatic result in Spain last week. Well, he'll be looking to continue that run of momentum, and we can see here in this final practice warm-up session, currently the 3rd fastest overall and in the gold class. Well, we did see, of course, in Spain he was quite fast in the practice session of qualifying, but it's in the races where he really found that momentum. And as he heads on down the backstretch here, down Allman Straight, we can also tell you that Samuel K. Sprout is in attendance as well. So you're going to be seeing the full flavour of the New Zealand outfit today. Both Lazarus and Sproul making their appearances, and well, will they be able to make it double podiums for the pair of them as Lazarus makes his way across the timeline and down towards turn number 1 once more. But I hope you're all doing well tuning in at home, and if you are tuning in, don't be shy, feel free to say hi in the YouTube chat. We don't bite here at UK Sim Racing, and indeed we're all for the community. And if you are a long time follower and you've ever wondered how you could potentially give back to UK Sim Racing, if you've been with us for quite some time, indeed over the years we continue to expand and grow, well, one thing to keep in mind is that, did you know there is a quick way to be able to give back to us via our affiliates? For UK Sim Racing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real world motorsport companies, including Swelly Omeda Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere and Demon Tweaks. And if you do head to our website, uksimracing.co.uk today, you'll see the following web page. And, well, we don't currently have an affiliates page available where you can see all the details of our affiliates, but what we do have is a link to our Discord in the top right of the screen, which you can see up there. And if you click on that, you'll be able to join the official UK Sim Racing Discord, which you're required to do if you ever want to compete in any of our series. But the reason you may want to join as well is because some of our affiliates do provide discount codes, which are available in the Discord. And if you do make it a purchase with one of those discount codes, where it results in a discount for you by default, which is great news for you as the consumer, and it also results as a kickback to us at UK Sim Racing. And because we are a non-profit organisation, all of our affiliate earnings shall be invested back into the community to fund future series, including future iterations of the Porsche Cup. More about Season 6 at the end of today's show. The GT3 League, we've got plenty more planned for 2023, and also with the Clios coming to iRacing soon. Could there even be the prospect of a Clio Cup? You never know. So that's why we're always on the lookout there, and we appreciate all the support, and a little investment goes a long way. And indeed, one of your purchases could go a long way in supporting us. But talking about things that could go a long way today, well, a good qualifying lap here could deliver well. But I think also overtaking ability and braveness on the brakes will do our drives in equal stead, as qualifying is now underway and our drivers are making their way out onto their warm-up laps. Now, there are only 8 minutes available and a lap time here of just over 2 minutes. That does effectively mean that this will be the shortest qualifying session in terms of laps available to our drivers. Because remember, we have no overtime in this qualifying session. When the clock strikes 8 minutes, that's it. Our drivers, if they're on a lap, that lap is discounted and they are immediately returned to the pits. So therefore, with only 2 laps maximum available, our drivers will need to be on the lookout for nailing the laps on the outset. And that means this is a high-risk, high-reward qualifying session, perhaps the highest risk of them all this season. But what does it take to deliver a good qualifying lap here? Well, the first key component that you need to keep in stride is the fact that this circuit comprises of a number of road surface changes, and we keep talking about it, but the reason it's important is because every time the car takes onto one of those road surface changes, going from asphalt to concrete or concrete to asphalt, and we'll see a prime example of that here as we do watch Hatcher making his way down through Le Mans corner and onto what will be the Allman Straight shortly, where he's already transitioned back onto the concrete slabs, and you can see there the different colorations whereby the road surface is denoted, where drivers have driven over it through the years. But as they go over those road surface changes, it will make it a very bumpy circuit, and being sensitive to those changes in the road surface and how it affects the weight balance of the car is going to be key. The other key aspect, as we see Hatcher heading into the final corner, is being able to nail those apexes. Getting close to those apexes corner after corner is going to gain you a lot of time, and we'll see that example being delivered here as we jump aboard of Alistair Hatcher for a flying lap of the Sebring International Raceway. Down towards turn number 1 and onto the brakes very shortly. A long left hand here coming down from 6th gear all the way down to 3rd gear. tightens the inside wall, then gets back on the power up to 4th gear, carries the speed out as he now makes his way up towards turn number 3, through the kicker 2, back on the brakes there at the 150 cone, and as he comes down to 2nd gear, rolls the car in through the kicker 4, and then onto the brakes for turn 5. Late apex here, 2nd gear, you don't want to touch the apex, go to unsettle the car, but as he now powers out, it's flat out all the way through Big Bend, as he goes up through the gearbox here, through the corner, and now down towards the hairpin at turn number 7. Lets the car roll out to the outside on the left of the circuit, and then onto the brakes there just before the 200-yard cone. And as he comes down to 1st gear, the slightest corner on the circuit, 45 miles an hour at the apex, and now powering on out to the hairpin through the Fangio complex here at turns 8 and 9. And as he continues to power his way up through the gearbox and into turn number 10 here, onto the brakes, he comes all the way down from 5th gear down to 2nd as he makes his way out to the right-hander. Now heading into the left-hander at turn number 10 before bringing the car back through, then up towards Tower Corner at turn 13 as he comes through the kick of 12 on the brakes there, 100 yards from apex, goes for a nice late apex, takes a bit of curve there, you can see just how high the curve, raised the front right tyre, and now charging all the way down towards Le Mans, powering up through the gearbox up to 5th gear, through the left-hander, and now very shortly for another left before breaking his way down there on the 150-yard board to 3rd gear, going through turn number 15, and now sweeping his way into turn 16, open up the corner here, using the road surface available, and as he powers out down the Allman Straight, now it's a breather before he heads to perhaps the hardest corner on the circuit, and it's the final corner, Sunset Bend, as he continues to head up towards the top portion of 5th gear, reaches 6th gear as well, and now it's all about carrying the speed off a trail braking here, as there's the cones, braking in at 175 yards, goes nice and deep initially, then brings the car around in 2nd gear, back on the throttle here, up to 3rd gear, power out, and that is a lap of the Sebring International Raceway circuit, as brought to you by Alistair Hatcher. A smooth lap, and what's it going to be as he crosses the timeline? Well, we can see there goes P5 on a 205.766. That's overall in class, currently P2. There were Jack Ward set the fastest silver class lap, and meanwhile Samuel Sproul far in high were 203.203 for the fastest of the gold class laps, albeit we've still got a number of drivers yet to put laps on the board, but it does look as though Sproul really hitting the cylinders and making sure to make things count nice and early, because he will only have this lap he's on currently in order to improve. And the same applies to everybody, but meanwhile made his way around across the timeline. Philipp Hammer there, well on course already to take provisional pole, and a 202.141. I think that may just do it for pole position as well, given the fact that's almost 1.1 seconds faster than anybody else as he makes his way down towards turn number 3 here, and I think he's going to only go faster as he really tests the limits of the circuit. Meanwhile, what about his teammate? We see Marcel Fritsch meanwhile for WS Racing Esports, and as he heads up towards Tower Corner at turn number 13, bringing the car over here, currently P8, or what is P4, so P6 we should say, in the gold class, and not quite on the pace, 2.2 seconds off of his teammate. And I think for Fritsch here, it may be a trial by error in terms of the fact qualifying may not work out, and instead he will have to do it all in the race. But as he heads down into turn at number 16 very shortly, we do say hello to Galactus and also to Aaron Tressa Motorsport in the YouTube chat. Galactus there cheering on the pairing from Blackout Motorsport New Zealand of Corey Lazarus and Samuel K. Sproul, and we can see Aaron Tressa there saying good luck guys, watching from the sideline, keep up the good work. We do appreciate it, Aaron, and I do appreciate you enjoying the broadcast. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to bring you all this racing action and qualifying right now. Definitely seeing our drivers put themselves through their paces, but as Fritsch comes around to complete his lap, we'll head in a little bit tight to the wall there, and I think just a bit of hesitance on the throttle as he heads to the timeline, but Fritsch crossing over now. He's improved in all sectors, so this is going to be a sizable improvement. It's a 203.296, but immediately Emil Koopmans, he's left it very late in the day, but Koopmans goes up to P2 there, 9/10 off of Philipp Hammer's time, but a 203.051. Koopmans may have just sprung it out the bag at the last possible moment. And what about his teammate Danny Hugendorf, who's coming on around? Well, he's heading up towards Sunset Bend at the moment as he comes on through. Philipp Hammer heading on around the circuit, and Hammer has improved sizably, but meanwhile, as we see Hugendorf heading to the timeline, what's it going to be? Here comes through Sunset Bend now. His target is to improve from P4. He's currently 1.1 seconds off, 2/10 off his teammates in P2. A little bit of wobble there coming out of the corner. He catches it in time. Hammer goes even faster at the top of the 201.766. But as we see Hugendorf crossing the line, it's not enough to improve. Is anybody else out there on an improving lap? Well, with only 40 seconds to go, most drivers are midway through their current lap. I don't think we're going to see any further improvement. So Jack Ward, by looks things, Springs will be your silver pole sitter, but it's interesting to see how the field has split in half, with the top 6 gold drivers and then the rest of the field being silver. And then starting from the back of the field will be Corey Lazarus there, not working out. I think there's a technical issue for Lazarus, which if so, that would mean that he'll have to carve his way all the way from the back of the order in P12. But as we do see this qualifying session coming to its end, only 10 seconds left to go as we say hello to Craig Tillerson there, who's wishing everybody good luck in tonight's races and looking forward to the racing today. He absolutely loves Sebring. Indeed, this circuit, much love around the world, not just in the US of A, but that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. Philipp Hammer on pole, and we can see there Jack Ward on silver pole. But this is how they line up then for round number 17 in the Porsche Cup Season 5. Philipp Hammer for WS Racing Esports there takes pole position in dominant fashion by 1.3 seconds over Emil Koopmans for Apex Missers. Behind him on row number 2 is the pair for Blackout Motorsport New Zealand of Samuel K. Sproul and Apex Missers Danny Hugedorn in a close fought battle there for P3. Only half a tenth separated the pair of them. And then it will be Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, who's followed up by Lee Holmes for ATEC Racing Team Purple. The pair will occupy row number 3. Jack Ward for Willacy Racing and Glenn Humberstone line up together on row number 4 for Willacy Racing and ATEC Racing Team Purple respectively, and that will be your silver pole sitter and your second place silver driver. And we continue the theme of the silvers behind on row number 5, Ash England for Willacy Racing being joined by ATEC Racing Team Science Alistair Hatcher, and it will be Craig Shield for ATEC Racing Team Science, the last driver to get a lap on the board, started off our 6th row in the silver class. And then we can see Corey Lazarus there with no time allotted to him. He'll be starting for the back of the pack, P12, and he'll have the hard work to do there to get through to his gold class peers. But as our drivers gradually begin to line up, we are still waiting for a good number of them to take to the grid, but we can see already there Philipp Hammer in his grid slot and Emil Koopmans alongside. A few drivers in the mid pack there still to get themselves onto the grid. They've got 40 seconds to go, but indeed right now, when it's the season finale, you want to end on a high, particularly when you know there's going to be another season up the road and you may be thinking about competing in it. You want to go into the next season as well as potential favourites. Everybody looking to do well, but we wait the lights. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for race number 1 of today. It's Philipp Hammer gets the throttle down and Emil Koopmans gets a strong start on the left of your picture. But look at Samuel Sproul behind who tries to get right in there as they come into turn 1. It's going to be 3 wide into the opening corner. Sproul up on the inside there, as you can see. Koopmans a little bit deep and wide, and as they make the way out, Marcel Fritsch comes roaring through. It's 3 wide up towards turn number 3, but they back out to 2 wide here as Fritsch continues to fight. The Apex Missers pair there of Koopmans and Hugedorn coming on through and make the way around Fritsch, who plays a bit sensitive as they come into turn number 5, but Fritsch right now battling with Hugedorn still, as Hugedorn there gets the authority to the inside cone for the big bend. And meanwhile further, Alistair Hatcher flying off the start line and making his way up into the lead of the silver class behind Glenn Humberstone and Ash England as they come down towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. England tucked in behind here, not really able to find a way through. Meanwhile Corey Lazarus coming on through. Jack Wood overcooks it under braking and goes overly deep into the hairpin. Well, thankfully he can use the runoff area there to bring the car back to the circuit shortly, but it's not been a strong start for Jack Wood, and Ash England as well struggling off the line, and now P3 in the silver class, P8 overall. And as they make the way into Tower Corner, shortly coming through is Fangio first into turn 10. We see Alistair Hatcher still battling hard with Glenn Humberstone and the 2 ATEC Racing drivers here, 1 for Cyan, 1 for Purple, both trying to assert their authority in the lead of the silver class. But I wonder if they need to calm it down initially to break away from the threat of Willacy Racing behind, but they're not showing any signs of looking behind. They're only looking upwards and to the side, as we can see Humberstone trying to go around the outside here as they come down into turn number 14. He'll be on the inside of the braking zone. Humberstone there gets it done. He gains the place, and Ash England comes through on the inside. He's seeing the doors open. We've got a driver who's run wide in the rear of the picture as they come down now. England still fights his hard into the Mont corner. He looks at the move on Humberstone as well. He makes it a 2 for 1 as he piles the car now down the Allman Straight, and as they make the way out towards turn 17 into a Sunset Bend. Was the battle of the golds at the start of the lap, but now it's the battle of the silvers as they make the way to the braking zone. Lazarus trying to look up the inside. Lee Holmes there as well, as you can see the 2 gold drivers there trying to pick the way past. Holmes makes it 3 wide through Sunset, but he has the back of the throttle to give them the space, and now England caught between the 2 cars as they make their way across the timing line here. They're still 3 wide as they head down towards turn number 1. You cannot make this up, and as they come down, it's going to be Holmes on the outside, Humberstone on the inside, and England in the middle. Who's going to emerge the victor as they head into the braking zone? Well, Corey Lazarus comes up the inside as well, and as they make the way on around here, Lazarus seizing the opportunity to get past Holmes, but the 2 gold drivers here still confounded, trying to pick the way past the silvers in front of them. But Lazarus looks up the inside here into turn number 3, but England holds him off as they make the way up towards 5, and now he has to back off and focus on Holmes behind. What a thrilling end to the first lap of today, and as they make the way out to the big bend shortly and down towards the hairpin, we look up to the front of the field and we can see here Hammer holding firm at the front, ahead of Samuel Sproul, followed by Emil Koopmans, and then it's Danny Hugendorf P4, the Apex Misters pair, making ground early on, and then Marcel Fritsch P5, Glenn Humberstone, leader of the Silver Class P6, still ahead of Corey Lazarus, but Ash England now behind Lazarus in P8, and then we do have Alistair Hatcher P9 ahead of Craig Schill, followed by Jack Ward and Lee Holmes to complete the standings. Lee Holmes having an off track only moments ago, and in fact we can give you a quick replay of exactly what happened to Lee Holmes. As he's making his way out of what looked to be, in fact, contact there on the big bend, and I believe that was contact with the 88 Racing Team Cyan machine. It was not Craig Schill, I believe it may have been what was Alistair Hatcher, the two of them coming together. Very unfortunate there, and I think both drivers there just not willing to give up in the run to the inside line, but in the end one of them did have to give up, and the 88 Racing Team Purple driver Lee Holmes, I think absolutely furious at what's happened there. It's contact between the two drivers, albeit of sister teams, and meanwhile as we return to live pictures, we look back to Craig Schill, who continues to chase after Humberstone as they make the way up towards turn number 16 into Le Mans corner once again, but whereas last time it was too wide all the way round, now things are starting to settle down a little bit and headed up towards turn number 17 towards Sunset Bend, where you can see immediately here, well, Humberstone trying to pick his way through, and Ward as well. In fact, Humberstone was slow down here, and I believe for track limits it's going to release Schill and Ward to go on fighting as they make the way through turn 17 and to the end of the second lap. But meanwhile, looking from there back up towards the front of the field here for a brief moment, we can see as darkness gradually descends on the circuit, the domestic racing esports driver Philipp Hammer continued to keep the lead, albeit being chased and kept honest by Sproul, with Koopmans just behind. And as we jump on board with the Apex Misters driver from the Netherlands, in his pursuit of P2, I think the thing for Koopmans here is they're going to be looking for those points for P3 in the team's championship himself at Hugendorf, but also he wants to try and clear Sproul here in the rivalry in the Golden Championship in terms of getting in those last minute places. But heading on down towards turn number 7 at the moment, we're going to try and bring different setups to the circuit. It'll be interesting to see who's invested in straight line speed and who's invested in cornering, with there being a multitude of straights here and a number of flat out zones. Investing a little bit of straight line speed at the cost of downforce can be very effective, but as they make the way through the Fangio sequence and up towards turn number 10, no change in sight at the moment. It looks as though we've got a bit of a stalemate. Meanwhile, looking further down the order, there's plenty going on further behind, with Craig Schill being passed by Glenn Humberstone as they bring their way out of turn number 7 and up towards turn 10 they go, but with some passes being made, and in particular it's Humberstone who's picked his way through the order very rapidly. I think Jack Ward's had it off track, and we can find out a little bit more about what exactly happened. Well, this was into turn 1, and Ward there in contact with Humberstone. Both drivers there end up going deep, but Ward letting the car roll off circuit and bring it back. But I think they're fighting into the corner. Both drivers not wanting to give way and carrying speed. But I think really the onus was on the driver on the inside to not carry as much momentum potentially. But meanwhile, we can dissect that later, and that's for the stewards to really dissect. We can see here, meanwhile, Emil Koopmans moving up to P2 and Sproul falling back to P3, and I think may have picked up a slowdown for track limits heading on through the complex turns 14 through to 16. But as Koopmans makes his way into Sunset Bend, you can see the rear brake disc absolutely glowing red hot under braking into the corner. This circuit is highly aggressive on the brakes with so many heavy braking zones and also a number of trail braking zones, seeing the brakes really being abused. And Koopmans right now into that P2 position, 1.7 seconds off of Hammer as they make the way on to another lap. They reached the halfway point of this race, and I think Hammer now really starting to clear off into the distance here little by little. And of course Hammer knows that he can't afford to make any errors here because it's the team's championship that's on the line, and with Fritsch down in P5 at the moment. Here is Marcel Fritsch to give you a comparison. He's currently 6.5 seconds off his teammate who's leading. Well, for Fritsch, he may not be picking up as many points, but every point is crucial as he comes on out of turn number 5 and up towards 70 charges. But as they head on around here, meanwhile, looking back to the Willacy Racing driver Jack Ward, of course, one of the pair who'll be looking to get as many points as he can in order to buffer Willacy Racing's aspirations of bringing home the team's championship. But based on the way the results are currently going, it is going to be slightly moving more towards WS Racing Esports, even more so. But as Ward heads down towards turn number 7, his first target will be to get past Craig Schill as he heads up towards the braking zone. And we say hello to Cy Anthony there, saying fair play for going 3 wide at Sunset Bend in reference to the first lap. And going onto the second lap into turn number 1, and for keeping it clean indeed. That beautiful racing between our drivers, and you can tell that whilst it's the end of the season, there's no sign of them abating whatsoever. But right now, Jack Ward looking for the move here into turn number 10 as they make their way onto the brakes. Up the inside here is Schill. Schill gives it the space, and with the wounds on the front of that Porsche, I think for Craig Schill, he's losing a bit of straight line speed by default, and he may just be naturally giving way here rather than fighting it too hard, for the simple reason if he doesn't let it go now, he's only going to cost himself time and potentially lose out more eventually when they do get to the straights, and Ward will just simply be able to saunter his way faster at decanter. But as they make their way onwards towards the remainder of this lap, Ward's task now will be to bring the pair of them up towards Glenn Humberstone, who is just shy of 3 seconds up the road in P9, but is P3 in the silver class. But as they come on down towards Le Mans corner, we look to Alistair Hatcher, who just made his way out to the aforementioned corner, P8, P2 in the silver class. And as he powers his way on down, well, doing a little bit of a bob and weave there on the Ulman straight, and I think worried about the fact that Humberstone in the draft there may be gradually gaining, and of course the 8-Tip Racing Team Cyan driver in a rivalry with his sister team drone, also his own teammate. They're a great team all the way down the paddock. It doesn't matter which part of the garage you talk to, whether it's red, purple or cyan, all showing as much love to one another in terms of off circuit as they do on circuit, with a great rivalry, and they've all got a little bit of pride on the line as they head on to another lap, and the headlights go fully on. But as they come down into turn number 1, meanwhile we look back up to Marcel Fritsch, who's under pressure from Corey Lazarus, and as we jump aboard the gearbox of the WS Racing eSports driver from Austria, but he has the New Zealander charging after him, and it could be a potential move coming here as Lazarus looks to the outside as they make their way down from the big bend and up towards the hairpin. Fritsch defends to the left there, meanwhile Lazarus with the overspeed, and I think Lazarus will simply outbrake Fritsch here, and Fritsch losing out to P6. And well, Fritsch is just not working out at all, and I wonder if there's a problem with the car potentially, because he just does not look happy with the way the car's coming off the corner, particularly in those traction zones as they make their way on through. Their lovely camera shot as they come through turn number 9 and up towards 10. But Marcel Fritsch, I think, feels as though he's going backwards right now in terms of not just positions but also the pace of the car as he heads up towards turn number 13. And as he comes on through, meanwhile, here's your silver leader of Ash England, the Willacy Racing driver after the early dramatics in the silver class, find his way through to lead in the number 34 as he comes on down through turn 13 and up towards 15 he charges. But as he heads on around here, meanwhile, Glenn Humberstone getting closer to the back of Alistair Hatcher in the battle for P2 in the silver class. Both drivers there use the curve of turn 13 as much as they dare, but the 212 driver here looking fast, looking furious, and as he looks up the inside here into the kink of what is 14, will he be able to get the move done? I don't think so at the moment, because they come down through 15. He's going to tuck in behind, but as we jump on board with the Briton heading up towards the right-hander of Le Mans, going through the corner nice and tight, having to back the throttle up there slightly for Hatcher, but Hatcher making a meal of the corner by going deep. Humberstone's going to have all the speed he needs, but Hatcher defends the inside, and as they make their way up towards turn number 17, Humberstone on the right, Hatcher on the left, they break the way in, and Humberstone's going to have the unenviable task here of trying to go all the way around the outside, or will he simply cut it back? He goes to the latter, he goes for a cutback, but Hatcher sees it coming and parks the car on apex. But now as they cross the timeline to go on to what will be for them the final lap of today, they'll turn 6 laps under race conditions here in the sprint, battling the way down towards turn number 1. Humberstone now looking around the outside here into the opening corner. Again, it's a cutback. Hatcher goes overly deep and the car just rolls away from him, and he brings it back together just before Jack Ward's able to get close enough to pick up the place as well. But Ward here is not going to slow down. He looks up the inside into turn 3, and Hatcher struggling for grip there and just lets the car come to a rolling halt as he made his way out of 3 and into 4, recognising that Ward was going to come through, no ifs, no buts. But meanwhile, as we look for the silver drivers up towards the gold leaders here, we see Emil Koopmans, the Apex Mrs. P2 driver in class and overall, still keeping Samuel Sprout at bay. 1 second between the two of them here as they make their way into the second half of this lap very shortly. Coming up into Tower Corner now, but I think if Koopmans can keep this pace all the way to the end of the lap, he'll feel safe. As you can see, off of the distance, Hammer for a brief moment there, but Sprout and Hoogendoorn inching closer as they head up towards turn 14 and getting ready to break into Le Mans at turns 15 and 16. Koopmans here has only got 3 more corners to go, but there are some of the most delicate corners on the circuit, and even the smallest mistake under braking can be fatal to his opportunity to finish P2. When he hooks up 15, he hooks up 16, absolutely spot on. And I think it's now only moments away from being a P2 finish. But meanwhile, looking to our leader at the front of the field, Philipp Hammer for UKSimRacing Esports. He put it on pole by 1.3 seconds. And as he comes through the final corner, a little bit of pressure into the opening corner. But beyond that, he's run it off into the distance. And he comes out the final corner. The checker flag will await him. And Philipp Hammer will make it another win here in the sprint at Sebring as he crosses the line. 4.3 seconds clear of Emil Koopmans, who holds on to P2 there for Apex Missers ahead of Samuel Sproul, and it is Danny Hugendorn who just misses out to the podium there behind the Blackout Motorsport New Zealand driver. Corey Lazarus P5 from the back of the grid, a great start to his day. Marcel Fritsch P6 there, and then Ash England, your silver winner by what is 11 seconds the end over his peers, with Glenn Humberstone coming to the timing line there, P8 overall, P2 in the silver class for Tech Racing Team Purple, holding off Jack Ward to the finish after that pass on Alistair Hatcher late in the race, and then Alistair Hatcher P10 overall just misses out on the silver podium. P4 in class ahead of Craig Shield P11, and well then it was coming across the line there. We just saw in the background Lee Holmes P12, but with that, ladies and gents, we do get a quick breather, and let's just give you a quick recap of those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. Will come the conclusion of round 17, the sprint race at Sebring. We saw Philipp Hammer take the win in the end for UKSimRacing Esports by 4.3 seconds over Apex Missers Emil Koopmans there, P2. Samuel Sprout rounded off the gold in the overall podium, P3 for Blackout Motorsport New Zealand, with Danny Hugendorf for Apex Missers there, P4, and close on the pace, only 1.1 seconds off at the finish, and Corey Lazarus there having started P12, fighting to P5 and giving himself a great opportunity now to be back on the podium come the end of today's feature. The Blackout Motorsport New Zealand driver there finishing clear of Marcel Fritsch with UKSimRacing Esports, who seems to be struggling on pace by comparison to the top 5, and then Ash England, your silver class winner, P7 overall for Willacy Racing, head of Glenn Humberstone at P8 for Tech Racing Team Purple, and Willacy Racing's Jack Ward completing the silver podium there in a very eventful race for the 48 driver. Alistair Hatcher topped off the top 10 with a P10 there for Tech Racing Team Simon, P4 in class, and his teammate Craig Shield just behind best the rest in P11, with Lee Holmes for Tech Racing Team Purple fishing last but not least P12. But keeping an eye on those standings, of course, that does mean that Glenn Humberstone and Ash England will share the front row of the grid for the feature, and it will be Glenn Humberstone on pole through the partial reverse grid. But an absolute thriller to start off today, and we've got one more race to go, ladies and gentlemen. And as our drivers do get set, we can see right now Alistair Hatcher making his way on around here for Tech Racing Team sign in the interluding period, just getting a little bit more practice on the cards, but we are only moments away from going racing once more. And he already knows it by parking up there and deciding to head back to the pit lane. Well, it is going to be a bit of a scenic view for a brief moment here as we see some of our drivers in the pit lane and just do a little bit of practice in the pits and just keeping themselves entertained. Indeed, the 2 minutes absolutely flies on by, but as we do say hello to UKSimRacing there, good afternoon, good evening to you, and enjoying the Porsche Cup 902 GT3 machine. Glad to have you with us, UKSimRacing. It's time for the gridding process for the feature. So as our drivers make their way to the grid for the final time this season, this is how they line up for the round 18 of 18 feature race at Sebring International Raceway. Glenn Humberstone takes reverse grid pole position for Tech Racing Team Purple, and with that silver pole, joined by his silver class rival from Willacy Racing, Ash England on the front row. Marcel Fritsch takes gold pole position there for UKSimRacing Esports on the second row, joined by Blackout Motorsport New Zealand's Corey Lazarus, and then on row 3, it's the pair from Apex Missers of Danny Hugendorn and Blackout Motorsport New Zealand's Samuel Sproul. On row 4, it's Apex Missers Emil Koopmans, joined by Philipp Hammer, UKSimRacing Esports' dominant driver so far, with Jack Ward and Alistair Hatcher on the 5th row for Willacy Racing and Tech Racing Team Cyan respectively. And then on the final row, it's Craig Shield for Tech Racing Team Cyan, joined by Lee Holmes for Tech Racing Team Purple. But that's how they line up. Our 12 drivers are almost all set. We're just waiting for Craig Shield to join us on the grid. He's done so, and now we very shortly await the lights. One red light, two red lights, three red lights, four red lights, five red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the final race of the season as Glenn Humberstone looks to get a good start of the line into turn 1. But as they make the way on down here and into the left-hander, Ash England already ahead as they come on down. But on the outside here, will he have the guts to go all the way round? He will. Humberstone then gives way. Samuel Sproul, meanwhile, looking to come through. It's 3 wide on the mid-apex. And as they come down towards turn number 3, Sproul gets ahead of Hoogadorn and Lazarus. Lazarus trying to battle on here, but find himself going backwards with Hoogadorn on the inside. Meanwhile, further back, Jack Wood and Coomers. Oh, goodness me! And there's contact in his fridge. Marcel Fridge into the wall as Hammer as well, going quite slowly through turn number 5. We've got a car across the curb there. It's all unfolding in dramatic fashion here in the feature on the opening lap. And well, with that, we'll have to dissect exactly what happened very shortly. But both of the WS Racing Esports drivers of a Hammer and also a Fridge involved in contact through turns 3 through to 5. And with that, that has split the field into 2. Corey Lazarus has had to be towed to the pit lane, so whatever's happened has been a huge knock to the car and driver. And meanwhile, Ash England leads the way in the silver class and overall as he makes his way down to turn 10. But this is the top 4 of England, followed by Humberstone and then Sprout and Hoogadorn. And then you have 2.2 seconds to Jack Ward behind, who in P5 is trying to chase after the top group as he makes his way through turn 11 and up towards 13. But as they come on through and down towards Tower Corner, meanwhile a bit further back, Philipp Hammer immediately now starting to go back on the charge here after dropping back to P8. Well, he started from P8, made some early ground, and it's all gone backwards, but he won't be for long before he starts to pick his way back through the order. But how long's he got? He's got 30 minutes, and with that he's going to use it completely to his own advantage. But as we do look from P8 back to P3, trying gold leader Samuel Sproul here all over the back of Humberstone as they come out of Le Mans corner at turn 16. Down at the straight they go, charging all the way down towards turn number 17 into Sunset Bend very shortly. The all-in straight, giving them plenty of time to get up to speed. But Sproul here tucking in behind. I don't think feeling confident with the speed in the car to make the move initially as they come on through into the apex. And meanwhile, Danny Hoogadorn looking around the outside here. And whether he's going for a cutback, Hoogadorn's being very brave about this. He's going to get the run off the corner, and this is going to be the battle for the gold lead as they come down towards turn number 1 once again. Now, will it be Hoogadorn or Sproul gets ahead? Well, Sproul on the right of your picture there, Hoogadorn on the left of your picture. They come into turn 1. Hoogadorn's got his nose ahead, but Sproul's got the authority to the inside line. And as they come through the left-hander, they're still side by side. As they head up towards turn number 3, it's now Sproul on the inside here as they break their way into the left-hander. And Hoogadorn, as much as he's huffed and puffed about it, I think he's going to have to wait his turn. He tucks in behind there, but not without giving a little bit of a cheeky tap to the rear of Sproul's car as they make their way out of turn 5 and up towards turn number 7. But as they charge away all the way down and up towards turn number 7 now, both drivers here calming down for a brief moment, and they do have to keep in mind that Lee Holmes here in P6 is definitely looking to close up. As meanwhile, I can tell you, looking out my commentary booth window, we have Marcel Fridge in the pit lane. He's just had the car repaired, and we have Corey Lazarus still parked up in the pit lane with repair work to the car ongoing. Philipp Hammer here meanwhile looking for the move on Craig Schill, not able to find it into the turn 7 hairpin. And whilst we do have a brief breather, well, we're not going to quite have a breather at the moment with Schill under so much pressure from Hammer, and Hammer having the run up towards what will be turn 10 by Fangio. He looks around the outside here, right at the picture. Hammer, Schill on the left of your picture, and Schill backing up there. And I think recognising there's no need to fight the gold driver for the simple reason for Schill, it's all about a P4 trying to chase down Jack Ward, who's up in P5, and Hammer could be part of his strategy in order to get closer. But meanwhile, looking up to P2, it's the battle for overall P2, and we can see that Sproul goes round the outside there of Humberstone. Hoogadorn also looking to come on through, but he can't quite find it, and Danny Hoogadorn being thwarted as we jump aboard with the Apex Misters driver as he comes into turn 16. And well, I think there he'll be gutted to the fact he wasn't able to find the space early, and now that does mean for him he's going to have to really put the hammer down here if he wants to try and find a way to hunt down Sproul, who will use the opportunity of having Humberstone between him and his gold class rival to open up a lead and break off into the distance. And it could come too soon, but we say that there's contact between with Humberstone and Sproul. Both drivers there coming into contact into the corner, and as they go on around at Sunset Bend, well, Holmes comes on through, but Sproul being knocked all the way down for the lead of the class. He brings himself back up to speed, but there's even more drama here, and we're not even halfway through the race as Jack Ward now looking to try and find his way round the outside of Glenn Humberstone, and he gets it down into turn 1. They're no ifs, no buts. The Willacy Racing driver absolutely seized on the situation, and now trying to hunt down his teammate Ash England to make it a 1-2 in the silver class as they head on through turns 3 through to 5. They're heading on around and up towards the next sequence of corners. We do have an opportunity now to take a look back at those major incidents, starting off with what happened on the opening lap through turns 1 through to 5. Well, as we look at this from Marcel, in fact from Philipp Hammer's perspective as he came on through, now there was contact there between what was, I believe, Lazarus and Fritsch, and in the process, Hammer getting caught up there. There was more contact than meets the eye, but let's take a look back at it from the green flag when the race got underway, and we jump on board with Philipp Hammer here to see how his race started from P8 on the grid. Well, as he got underway there, a little bit of wheel spin, but a relatively safe start. Now, as he powered his way up to turn one, we've typically seen Philipp Hammer be very conservative with these race starts, not really trying to make progress, but you'll see there Hugend on the inside, getting nice and close. Meanwhile, Koeman's going a little bit deep, and as they made the way out to one, up towards two, this is where it started to get very tight. You can see Hammer had to back off there with Fritsch on his outside, coming across, under braking they went, no contact so far, and I think it was a little error there from Lazarus that saw it all break open. Hammer with the rear left tyre onto the grass there, connecting with what was Koeman's, and that's what led to it all unfolding the way it did between the drivers. And as we return to live pictures, well, that explains it. So Koeman's having a brief moment and taking Marcel Fritsch with him as a result, albeit nothing intended there. And then where it was Hammer who had a slight dip to the grass and ended up in contact with another driver. But meanwhile, as we look to live pictures here, you're seeing three wide in the battle for P3 between Lee Holmes, Jack Ward and Glenn Humberstone. Ward on the outside there, and meanwhile Holmes and Humberstone on the inside, with Holmes on the very inside in towards Sunset Bend's apex. And as darkness completely descends here, the sunset is far gone. Well, we can see that Lee Holmes continues to charge his way through the order, and now up to P3 in the overall standings and P2 in the gold class as he makes his way into turn one once again. And Lee Holmes here knowing that he needs to beat as many drivers as possible in this class to potentially snatch P2 in the gold class away from Cameron Willacy, who's not in the 10s today, right at the conclusion of this championship. But as he heads on through it up towards turn number 5, he'll want to try and take the win off of Danny Hugend in order to guarantee that it won't be enough at the moment, or it's going to be extremely close. But as he comes on down towards turn number 7, powering on here with Hugend at 3 seconds up the road. You can see there Hugend putting the pressure on Ash England. The gap between the two of them 7 tenths, and well, now the question will be, can Hugend find a way close enough to make the move on England without being held up for too long, or will he be forced backwards? Well, we'll have to wait and see. And meanwhile, whilst we do have an opportunity, we get to take a look back at what happened to Samuel Sproul at Sunset Bend on lap number 2. Well, this was on the run down to the corner, and a bit of contact with the ATEC Racing Team Purple machine as they made their way into the braking zone. Both drivers there being caught up, and that was, I believe, Lee Holmes who came on through after the fact of what happened. But as they made the way on around there, we're not quite sure who made the contact, but as they made the way out of the corner, definitely for Sproul, a nightmare moment, and in the end, not working out at all. And I think that was Glenn Humberstone, in fact, who was involved in the contact with Sproul, and therefore for Sproul being knocked away from the lead of the gold class, and now he's got it all to do again from P4 in the gold class or P7 overall as we return to the live pictures. And as Hugend makes his way out of turn number 60 down the Allman Straight, and the Dutchman charging on and down towards Sunset Bend, staying closer to Ash England this time as he makes his way into the right-hander. But he's got to pace this and be smart about it, because this is a marathon by comparison with the opening race of the day. We've got from 12 minutes to 30 minutes, and the thing we've seen all season is that in these 30-minute feature races you have to protect the tyres. They do not last the full 30 minutes if you're running 100% performance, but our drivers, they get incredibly close to the wall in the exit 17, pushing the track limits as much as they can. Hugend right now really trying to press on here. He doesn't want England to take the overall win. He wants it to go to a gold driver, and specifically he wants it to go to him as he makes his way up into turn number 3. Meanwhile, looking to his teammate Emil Koopmans, who right now sliding his way out of the final corner and down towards turn number 1. It's the battle between him and Marcel Fritsch. They come on down towards the braking zone. In fact, that's not Fritsch, that's Hatcher, we should say. And Hatcher right now holding on to P9 overall. And Koopmans wants to gain another overall position. Gets a good run off the corner, but not close enough to look up the inside versus Alistair Hatcher. And Hatcher not giving in at all as they come into turn 3, digging in and trying to hold off the gold driver, but he goes deep there at 3. And as they exit the way through 4 and 5, Koopmans swings up the inside there and gets it done for P9 overall. His next target is Craig Schill, who's 8.2 seconds up the road. Another silver class driver who we need to fight his way past before he gets close enough to take on Samuel Sproul for P4 in the gold class. But meanwhile, as we look from them back up to what is Jack Ward versus Philipp Hammer behind. Well, Ward here, no stranger to the danger of Hammer. And if you can be guaranteed of one thing, as we've always said this season, the one inevitable thing in the Porsche Cup is that Philipp Hammer will find his way through, or be battling his way through in the feature race when he normally starts towards the back of the top 8 inversion. And well, it's been a very different start. We've never normally seen Hammer involved in an opening lap incident. In fact, this is the first major incident he's been involved in all season, and that's for consistency. And Hammer right now tucked in behind here with the Glimply brakes. It's absolutely going red hot. Well, he's going to be pushing it as much as he can, but he's got to keep in mind, the more he pushes now, the less tyre he'll have come the final 10 minutes when it could all come undone. But as he makes his way down towards turn number 15 in quick succession here, looking on what is the outside of Sunset Bend, shortly coming into turn 17 in fact, and as he looks all the way round here, Ward will defend, but Hammer there has the confidence to carry the speed round, but Ward defending still on the apex. There's a bit of contact between the two of them, and Hammer there with the contact on the rear bumper quarter panel of what was Ward's car, will knocks his momentum, and now Hammer's got to do it again. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Ash England still battling with Hoogendoorn as they go through turn 1, and now this battle's starting to really develop and boil over, as England there now has Hoogendoorn is outside, and as they come through the left-hander of turn 3, Hoogendoorn gets on the inside of 4, breaking into turn 5, it's too wide all the way round. You don't see this at turn 5, and as they make their way, Hoogendoorn with a little slide there, just getting a little bit too eager on the power, and once again Ash England just proves to be a defensive barrier to Hoogendoorn. And look at this, Lee Holmes has caught up, he's looking for the move for the lead of the gold class as they break the way down to turn 7. He looks out on the outside, the 35 driver here, it's been a long time since we've seen Lee Holmes battling for the lead, but to be fair, that's not to besmirch, and that shows how strong the field's been all season. But in these circumstances, he's going for it, and as they make their way up towards turn number 10, well, right now no change, but he knows that changes are coming. Meanwhile, Jack Ward still battling here with Philipp Hammer, but Hammer on the right of your picture has got his nose ahead as they break the way to 10, but Ward is still there, and there's more contact between them. The two of them, they're not giving up, and Hammer being frustrated as Sproul picks up the places as they make their way up towards turn 13. He's on the inside, he gets Hammer covered off, and as he comes on down towards turn 13 and out of it, there's more contact. And I think Sproul there being turned by a Hammer on the rear end as the contact was made, although we're not quite sure about that. What we can tell is that with that contact, Sproul's gone round, and I think he's had to be immediately towed to the pits. He's just disappeared off circuit. But Hammer there in a very nasty run of corners, and well, I think a bit of frustration with Ward coming on through and Sproul trying to capitalise, but then Sproul falling foul of the instant. As meanwhile we look back up to the front of the field, and Ash England is the Willacy Racing driver, now 8 tenths clear of the Danny Hoogendoorn as they make their way towards the end of this lap. They've still got plenty of laps to go. Keep in mind this is only the 6th lap, and they've got another, what is 17 and a half minutes as they cross the timeline. Or if you do a bit of quick mathematics, that's going to be 9 more laps, we reckon, as they head across the timeline and down towards turn number 1 once again. And will the top 4 inching ever closer, because at the back of the top 4 here, Glenn Humberstone in P4 for ATEC Racing Team Purple. He's got his sights set on bringing home the silver win, albeit he'll need to either have England come to him, or he'll need to clear Hoogendoorn and Holmes if he wants to take the fight on. But as he comes out of turn at number 3 and up towards turn 5, a little bit of a wobble there as he exited the left-hander at turn 3 and had to back the car off and lost a whole second there through the complex of 4 and 5. And that goes to show even the smallest of mistakes can be absolutely costly. But as our drivers head the way up towards the hairpin, they are continuing to press on here, and Ash England still looking to stay firmly in control of the lead this race overall. He wants to end his season on a high, and I would suspect he'll very likely be heading up to the gold class of season 6, doing essentially what Cameron Willacy did from Willacy Racing a season ago. But as he heads down towards turn number 10, with aiming to finish on an overall race win, the challenge will be here is how can he keep Hoogendoorn and Holmes at bay for the eternity. Well, it will feel like an eternity with the amount of time they've still got left to cover, as we're hearing that Craig Shields had an off track, and in fact as we look to Shield, that is at what is turn number well, it looks to be at turn number 7 there. He's gone off at the hairpin. Meanwhile, Lee Holmes, oh goodness me, it's gone wrong for Lee Holmes as well. And that's at turn number 13 as he turns the car around. I think he's made contact with the tyre barrier. In fact, there may be a light scrape with the barrier. But as he finally returns to circuit, he's lost all the run. He's down in P6 overall now. And Philipp Hammer's come through for P2 in the gold class. And that really does leave Danny Hoogendoorn to go hunting after the win overall for the gold drivers here. Unless Philipp Hammer can find his way past this man, Jack Ward. Whereas they make their way down the Almond Straight once again, that's Hammer right behind, and well, The last couple of times he's tried to make the pass, there's been contact, and it's been door-to-door contact, nothing too serious. But as they make the way to turn number 17 here into Sunset Bend, Wood lets it go this time, or does he? In fact, no, he doesn't. He brings the car back in. Hammer looks at the cutback here. It's nicely set up by Philipp Hammer. He's seen what Wood was trying to do, and now it's going to be a drag race here as they head up towards turn number 1. But the thing is, Willacy Racing normally run less wing compared to their rivals, and that means they will gain the speed on the straight in the case of Wood. But as he breaks away to turn 1 back on the inside, and Hammer once again throwing everything in the overtaking manual at his rival, but covered off there by Willis Ward, flashing his lights. I don't think he's too impressed with the fact Ward cutting off his nose as they came through turn 1. Based on the camera angle, it looked like to us Ward making a very tight run onto that inside line, and Hammer feeling as though they had to back out, but still Hammer trying to pass as much as he can here, and as the time wears on, 15 minutes still remaining, he powers down through Big Bend as we ride on board with the German, and as he heads up towards the corner, Ward covers him off on the inside. Onto the brakes they go, into the hairpin. Ward on the right, your pictures they come across, but he overcooks it on the braking, and Hammer finally finds a way through. In the end, he uses another cutback to get it done, and well, for Ward, it was a great defence, but in the end, he threw everything he could at Philipp Hammer. For the one thing that Hammer found is guaranteed to do, is find a way through. We've seen it all through the season. Hammer, when he's come up against the brick wall, he's been able to smash his way through it little by little on grandiose either way. And as he comes up towards turn at number 13, well, Hammer now in P2 in the gold class, 10.5 seconds off Ash England, your overall leader, and 10 seconds off the gold class leader, Danny Hoogendoorn, and he will be charging as much as he can all the way to the end of this race to close them down. He's got 14 minutes to go, effectively including this lap, a further 7 laps. Oh, goodness me, and Ward there, lose there at turn number 15. The car going on around as he brings it back together. That's going to dent his aspirations for an overall finishing position here, but it will not dent his aspirations for P2 in the silver class, given the fact that, in fact, P3 in the silver class, we should correct ourselves, with Alistair Hatcher only just making his way up towards the corner where Ward got it wrong only moments ago. The ATIC Racing Team sign driver who you see here, but as he makes his way up towards turn number 16, he'll be taking some hope in the fact that even the fastest drivers in class are making critical mistakes, and there's still time left in this race. But as we look back up to the front of the field, Ash England continues to lead over on in the silver class, with gold leader Hoogendoorn behind, and as they head up towards turn 3 this time, well, we've seen a brief respite between the pair. They were fighting earlier on, but Ash England proving to be very dicey on the defence, and as they come through the left-hander at turn number 5, well, Hoogendoorn definitely closing up here. But the problem is, every time he gets within 4 attempts, we're normally seeing that for Hoogendoorn, he starts to lose the pace for the simple reason that dirty air really undermining the front end downforce of the car. But meanwhile, further back, Philipp Hammer has found his way out to P3 overall already, and I think there's been an incident for Glenn Humberstone. In fact, we can tell you there has been one, because we've got a replay coming up now. Well, as we look to the ATIC Racing Team, purple driver at the time, P3 in class, just a bit too much apex curve there at turn 3, and the car being unsettled and sliding on the grass, a small tap to the barrier, and for the 212 driver, he gets himself reset, but that is definitely going to be frustrating for him. Meanwhile, we looked at Emil Koopmans, who's up the inside of Jack Ward there, and taken P6 off Ward in the run to the hairpin. And as we look at the live pictures now, the Dutchman continues to press on. His next target will be Lee Holmes, who is only 4 seconds up the road. But meanwhile, coming to another silver gold pair, we look back to your race leaders here, and England being caught as they make the way into turn number 15, coming on down towards Le Mans Court at turn 16. And as we ride on board the gearbox of the Willacy Racing 34 machine, England there getting a good run off the corner. Hoogendoorn going a little bit deep, taking to the grass, and as he does, well, it's going to be an instant point against his name, but also it's going to give England a bit more breathing room. And what it looked as though for a brief moment, Hoogendoorn would be breathing all down his neck in the run to Sunset Bend, but now as they come through the long right-hander, England is able to take his foot off the gas for a brief moment, albeit proverbially, and just simply let things calm down. But Hoogendoorn will again be building up the pace as there's contact with the exit ball there, a slight tap for Hoogendoorn and a distance in the camera as they make their way in towards turn number 1. And Hoogendoorn now, well, I think he's got to be careful about the fact he's given this everything, but I think he's overdriving the car a little bit in his pursuit of the win, and we can still bring home a gold class win. It'll be P2 overall, and it's going to give him major points still, keeping in mind the points are based on class finishing position in the Drivers' Championship. The only exception is the Teams' Championship, where there it is I believe it is a class finishing position, albeit based on the respective classes and who of each team, the top 2 drivers, where they finish in their class and who finishes the best. but as we see Hoogendoorn here continue his pace down towards turn number 7, getting ever closer to the back of England again. The gap down to 4 tenths already, but you can see off in the distance there, here he comes, and on that last lap, he was 1.2 seconds faster than your race leader. Philipp Hammer is closing, and he is closing quickly, and at this current rate of closure, he will be there on the final lap to battle for the win, albeit he'll want to try and take down 1.5 seconds, and he'll be hoping that England and Hoogendoorn battle one another quite hard, and this race heads towards its conclusion, albeit at the moment, I think that is definitely going to be a certain item if Hoogendoorn can keep it steady as he makes his way out of tower corner at 13 and now pushes on in the pursuit of Ash England. As they head up towards the next set of corners, we do say hello there to Jefferson Duarte in the YouTube chat. Hashtag visit what is there as Gipper, as I do believe that's the sponsor on the side of the WS Racing Esports machine. I apologise for butchering that most likely. And also we say hello there to BRM at Sim Racing, who's enjoying the action at Sebring. It never fails to disappoint. I 100% agree with you there, BRM at Sim Racing. The racing today has been absolutely top notch, albeit a few elbows have come out, but given it's the season finale and everyone now looking to essentially end on a high, it's understandable. But as they make the way towards the next lap, Hoogendoorn right now gets it right this time in the run through turn 16 and down towards turn 1 they go once again on the exit of Sunset Bend. Hoogendoorn's in the attacking position now, but can he find a way to look up the inside here? He's going to try it, but again England just feeling comfortable, but there with the pressure Hoogendoorn's able to look at potential lines, looking to get in the head of his rival, but in the end up making a little bit of a run wide at turn number 1. And I think the Dutchman here has really just got to find how much he can push the car at the moment, because it seems like he's either pushing too much or not enough, and he needs to find that Goldilocks zone, if you will, where he finds the right amount of push. But as he comes out of turn number 5, nails it there at corner exit, through Big Ben they go, and down towards the hairpin. It's the closest he's been, and as they come up towards the braking zone, looking to the inside here, England doesn't cover him off, instead relies on the fact he'll be able to outbrake his rival, and England gets it done the defence for now. But as we jump aboard here with the 992 machine, well, Hoogendoorn right now looking for another run, and I think the next one will come in the run down the Allman Straight. But building his way up through the gearbox as we look to the dashboard on the bottom left hand side of your screen, and you can see them running right towards the red lunter into turn number 10, dropping from 5th to 2nd, and here looking to get those smooth runs. But it's another moment of wheel spin there for Hoogendoorn in 2nd gear, and look at how much the gap has opened up. He's just jumped away as Ash England, as the gap has gone from being 5 tenths to 1.5 seconds in the flash of an eye. That's a whole second gain for a small bit of wheel spin there, and again the rough and ready road surface of Sebring really catching Hoogendoorn out in 2nd gear on the exit of turn number 10, and now he's got to do it all once more, and this gives England another opportunity just to simply let things calm down. But meanwhile, as we look to Philipp Hammer, who's closing up and now only 5 seconds off of Hoogendoorn, aided a little bit by Hoogendoorn's mistake. Again on that last lap, a 204.13 for Ash England, a 203.42 for Danny Hoogendoorn. For Philipp Hammer, a 202.72. And the German here once more absolutely charging on, and well, with the time remaining, the prediction is still the same. In fact, he will be there to battle for at least a gold win on the final lap of this race, if not sooner, but he needs to keep up this rate of knots. And as they come on around to complete another lap, Ash England this time a 203.601, the fastest lap of his own personal race. Danny Hoogendoorn a 204.6, Philipp Hammer a 202.448, the fastest lap of this race as a whole. And right now the WS Racing Esports driver, with he finishes where he is currently, it's guaranteed that WS Racing Esports will take the team's championship as he heads into turn number 3. And with Marcel Fritsch finishing in P9, P5 in the gold class, he'll bring it on home. But as they make the way towards the end here, of course Fritsch will be looking to make sure the car comes on home. He's had a very difficult race. The open lap instant costing him dear, and many a driver right now running cars with damage to them, and therefore conscious of the fact that as the tyre degradation really does start to build, as we are now going into the final 6 minutes, and we see their site Anthony commenting that Hoogendoorn has killed his tyres, and will very likely with that moment, I would agree with you, site it is now for Danny Hoogendoorn to try and nurse the car on home. And how much grip has Philipp Hammer got left in terms of being able to push on to bring home a class win? If he's got enough tyre left, then he may be able to do it, but if not, he may have to settle for 2nd. But things are calming down at this time, with all-wheel drives relatively spaced out at the moment, as we see Fritsch heading into turn 1 with Craig Shaw a bit further back there. P10 overall, P5 in the silver class, and your last runner at the moment, albeit almost a lap down as he makes his way through at Sunset Bend. It is Corey Lazarus. He comes on out, albeit with the field spaced out. In fact, he's actually been able to catch back up to the back of the field, so no longer a lap down. But you can see there on the circuit map, with Lazarus being involved in that open lap incident, just how much it's cost him with having to be towed to the pit and have to do the repair work. As we look from the back of the field to the front with our one retirement of Samuel Sproul, the other Blackout Motorsport New Zealand driver, the team ending their season not on the high they perhaps wanted. Well, England right now continue to hold advantage. It's only 8 tenths here as he comes on through Sunset Bend. He will have 3 more laps to go as he crosses the timeline, and will he be able to keep the gold driver behind to make it another silver overall win this season? We haven't seen too many of those, and as he heads into turn number 1, will right now roll his way through the left-hander in the number 34 car. The Willacy Racing driver here looking to make history. In fact, I don't think we've seen a silver win all season overall. We've seen silvers on the overall podium, but I think we've never seen a silver actually take overall victory as he comes on through it, turns 3, 4 and 5, unless my memory's not serving me correctly. But as they make their way out of turn 5 and down towards 7, Hoogendoorn again right there, and as we ride aboard the gearbox of Ash England, Hoogendoorn has had a go into turn 7 in the past. It hasn't worked out. He's had a run into turn number 10, but too much wheel spin cost him dear. Where can he find the move? Because Ash England right now looks faultless to a T with regards to his defensive capability. As they head up towards turn 10 this time, well, Hoogendoorn will be wary of the fact that if he drops the car down to second gear here, he won't have as much grip available, and those tyres will give him wheel spin if he tries to push them too hard. As they come through the right hander, very close as they come out, and he nails it this time within 2 tenths as they head up towards Tower Corner. It's not really an overtaking opportunity, or is it? No, it's not. It's only 1 wide up into the braking zone here, but with Hoogendoorn this close as they come out to turn number 13, when he's setting his sights on, it's to run down the Auburn straight, but he will need to be this close to capitalise on the toe, given the fact that we do know that England's running less rear wing. But as they head into the right hander at turn number 15, Hoogendoorn takes a sniff to the inside, can't quite find it, trying to get into England's head, but England doesn't make a mistake. He just simply keeps it on the asphalt as they head through turn number 16, through the right hander they go, and as they charge onto the concrete slabbing here, it's the run down the Auburn straight, a gap of 3 tenths. Hoogendoorn is closing, but he's not closing rapidly enough. It's going to come to the final corner, whether he can get the run up towards turn number 1, but as they head into the braking zone here for Sunset Bend, well, England just taking his normal line, Hoogendoorn staying in his wheel tracks. It's all about following as closely as possible as they come through the final corner. Hoogendoorn within 2 tenths here as they come on towards the start finish straight. 2 more laps remaining, 3 minutes to go, and as they come down towards turn number 1 this time, Philipp Hammer in the rear of the picture. He's only 4.5 seconds off, and Hoogendoorn's got to balance this. He needs to make the move, and he's got to make it happen in a single stroke. If he doesn't, then Hammer will be there before they know it, and he'll be fighting for it as well. As they head up towards turn 3, it abates for the time. Meanwhile, Emil Koopmans has recently found his way past Glenn Humberstone up into P5 overall, and what is there in the class P4 and gold class? He heads on down towards turn number 1. Humberstone running P2 behind in the silver class. Can't quite see Ash England at this time. Instead sees plenty of the rear there of Koopmans and just avoids tapping the rear of it as he goes overly deep, but a lot of drivers struggling for grip into turn number 1. Meanwhile, we look back to the leaders here. Ash England having to defend in the run up towards the hairpin. Hoogendoorn looking around the outside, a little bit of wheel spin there for Hoogendoorn, but he brings it back together. But that little defensive manoeuvre from England has cost the pair of them 7 tenths to Philipp Hammer, and Hammer right now, he can see this battle, he can see it's unfolding, he will be willing it to go on. He will be wanting Hoogendoorn to shut the car at the inside as much as he possibly can to give Hammer a chance to be there on the final lap. As they come up towards Tower Bend this time, into the right hander they go, and England here continue to keep the car smart as he comes out of 13. Hoogendoorn all over the back of him, but again, being this close, it's not enough. He needs that final 5 to 10%, as the late Murray Walker once said. Catching is one thing, passing is another, and that's been articulated right here and now, as England just seems to have enough to stay ahead as they go through each and every bend. And even though the tyre wear's building up, the brakes have had enough. It's not enough for Ash England to be unsettled. He's staying right there, keeping his head down, and Hoogendoorn's just not able to match up where he was last time. The gap's 3 tenths. It'll be 2 tenths by the time they break the way into Sunset Bend. And as we jump on board here with the P2 driver, gets very close on the brake and he goes all in. Goodness me, all the way in towards the tyre barrier he goes, and just seizing on the brakes. And for Hoogendoorn, it's all gone wrong as Ash England there, what I can imagine from his perspective, he probably saw it coming at short notice and had to keep the steering open, wondering who was going to end up going off circuit, whether it would be the pair of them or just Hoogendoorn, but Hoogendoorn's into the pits, and in the end the frustration has built. He's missed his braking point and the car's just gone, and Hoogendoorn has had to be towed to his pit box, and Philipp Hammer has now come on through to take the lead of the gold class. But as he heads into turn number 3, well, I don't think he's got enough time here. It's 3 seconds to close down. And at this time, this rate of knots, Hammer's only taken a second out of England. I think England's got this done. Whereas they make the way through turn number 6 and down towards 7. Hammer here, well, he's got all the pace in the world, but he just hasn't got enough time to get this job finalised. And as he heads on through, meanwhile in P3 overall, Lee Holmes is being caught up by Emil Koemans here at a second a lap on average. And Koemans, you can see there, the Apex Missers driver, staying close to the back of the ATEC Racing Team Purple driver. But again, is it enough time in the day to be able to get the move done? The gap is 7/10 here. They're already a third of the way through the lap, and if you play it based out on averages, well, Holmes there goes very deep into the hairpin, and in fact, he comes on through the kinks, and now up towards Fangio he goes. Holmes is going to be looking vulnerable as he comes up towards turn number 10, and well, now will Koemans go for it here, or will he wait for Ullman? He's going to wait a little bit later, I think, given the fact he took a little look, but then decided, no, it's not the right time to go for it. I think this is sensible for Koemans. He just needs one opportunity to get this done. But meanwhile, as they make the way into turn 13, we look back to Marcel Fritsch, who just looked up the inside there of where's Craig Shield to take P8 overall. And there's no change of class position between the gold and the silver driver, only overall position. But as they head on towards the remainder of their lap, meanwhile, coming towards the end of his current lap, it's Ash England for Willacy Racing. The clock has struck 30 minutes, and as he comes around the final bend, he will see the checker flag. And what a defence it's been from Ash England, starting on the front row. He took the lead early on. He's never looked back since then. And whilst he may have been aided by the chaos behind, one thing that stayed true is his defensive driving. And he makes history by taking the overall win in the silver class machine for Willacy Racing ahead of your gold class winner, Philipp Hammer, who finishes P2 overall. And then it'll be Lee Holmes who comes through the final corner, fending off Emil Koemans to the line. And well, can he do it on the drag race here as Koemans looks around the outside? I think he can. Koemans is not close enough to make it too wide, and Lee Holmes completes the overall podium and a drive to P2 in the gold class, ahead of Emil Koemans, P4 overall, P3 in the gold class on the gold podium. And then it's Glenn Humberstone who crosses the line, P5, what is P2 in the silver class there for ATEC Racing Team Purple, ahead of Jack Ward, who ends on a podium, but not where he wanted to be on the podium. Well, the Willacy Racing driver will take it there. P60 crosses the line, and it'll be Alistair Hatcher who finishes just off the silver podium, P4 class, P7 overall for ATEC Racing Team Cyan, with then Marcel Fritsch quite a way back in P8, and still the battle on between him and Craig Shield for that P8 overall position as they make the way down the Ullman Straight. But I think Fritsch has got enough space here, and if he brings the car home in this position, it will be enough to secure the win in the Team's Championship for WS Racing Esports if we do the quick mental maths. But as he comes through the right-hander here, all looking comfortable, and we can see their shield going a little bit deep. And for Marcel Fritsch, it's not going to be a podium in class, but it will be a P4 in the gold class, a P8 overall. Craig Shield, P5 in the silver class, P9 overall. And then Corey Lazarus will come to the line, the last of your finishers on the lead lap, P10 overall, and with it a P5 in the gold class in what was not to be his race today, with Danny Hugdorf finishing in the pit lane in the end in an unfortunate conclusion, seeing him lose the gold win after looking for the move on Ash England and Samuel Sproul with that early retirement, losing out right from the start. But as we see England making his way down to the pit lane, what a drive from the Willacy Racing driver, having to fend off the charge of his gold peers, and the silver driver bringing home the overall win, and indeed adding his name to a very limited list of names where the silver class have found a way to be on the overall podium, if not the overall win. But he's done both of those things here in the feature as the 34 driver makes his way on around, and I think absolutely pleased with what's been a superb championship season. And indeed, with this championship, of course, not cracking under pressure, and that really has been his mantra all season, bringing home the silver class championship last week, and today it was all about just seeing what else he could take home with him. But a fantastic race throughout, ladies and gents, but I'm sure you'll agree, and with that, that's the final race of the season, and it's time for us to take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. Well, after 30 minutes of racing in round 18 of 18 in the Porsche Cup Season 5, as brought to you by UKSimRacing on iRacing at the Sebring International Speedway today, Ash England bringing home the overall win there and the silver class win with it for Willacy Racing by 1.8 seconds over Philipp Hammer for WS Racing Esports. Hammer gave it everything to take the overall win, but in the end has just had to settle for the gold win today and had to fight his way back up the order after that early instant on the opening lap into turns 3 through to 5. Lee Holmes P3 there, runner-up in the gold class, and a good drive from the Tech Racing Team Purple drive, refinding its pace right towards the end of the season, and with that P3 finish, it may have been enough to enable him to end up P2 in the gold class when it's all said and done, ahead of Cameron Willacy, who was not in attendance today. Emil Koopmans rounded off the gold podium there for Apex Misses, but not quite on the overall podium. P4 was the best he could achieve, ahead of Glenn Humberstone P5, P2 in the silver class for 88 Tech Racing Team Purple, and then Jack Ward for Willacy Racing at P6. A great drive there and really cemented his status as runner-up in the silver class with that third place finishing class in this final race. As that P7 for ATEC Racing Team at Cyan, not quite able to battle onto the podium, but still giving it everything. Marcel Fritsch P8 there for WS Racing Esports, P4 in class, and with that and the results of Philipp Hammer today, that confirms WS Racing Esports are your team's championship winners. Congratulations to them. It has been a strong campaign for them. They've had to fend off the fight from Willacy Racing, particularly through the mid-season, but they were able to get the job done. And then we see Craig Shield for ATEC Racing Team Cyan, P9, P5 in the silver class, ahead of Corey Lazarus, as we see there in the background, the Willacy Racing pair of Ash England and Jack Ward doing donuts on the start-finish straight, showing off in celebration for a great season. And we can see outside the top 10, Danny Hugedorf finishing a lap down with that late retirement for Apex Misses with the damage picked up at Sunset Corner, and then Samuel Sproul completing the standings there, having to retire 10 laps from the finish with that early and unfortunate incident for Blackout Motorsport New Zealand. But an absolutely fantastic race from start to finish, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as we enjoy the donuts there of Jack Ward in the background, a superb set of drives that really just goes to show that the Porsche Cup by UKSimRacing continues to grow season in and season out. But of course, we're not quite done yet, ladies and gentlemen, because we've still got our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers, and we'll be getting those underway in approximately 10 minutes' time. It has been a thrilling conclusion, there's been no doubt about it. But what did our drivers make of it? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss those interviews coming up shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and ready for our post-round interviews with our selected drivers. And today, we've only got one driver who's volunteered to join us for a post-round interview, and that is our Silver Championship winner, and also our overall winner in the feature race, and also made it a double of silver wins. It's none other than Willacy Race's Ashley England in the number 34 car. It's going to be interesting to hear his perspective on what has really been the icing on the cake and the cherry on top with it. In fact, multiple cherries on top to wrap up a championship campaign which has really seen him be the dominant force in the silver class, albeit there's been moments of brilliance from his teammate from Willacy Racing, Jack Ward, and also some of the contemporaries from ATX Racing, including Glenn Humberstone and Alistair Hatcher. But really for Ashley England, he has been a world of his own, and as he does get ready to join me, well, we'll be hearing his perspective not just on the racing today, but also on making history in the overall win and also on his championship campaign. But as he joins me now, Ashley, firstly, let me say congratulations on securing the Silver Championship crown for Season 5. It's been a strong season for yourself from start to finish, and well, you wrapped it all up technically last week by having enough points to stay clear of Jack Ward, but today you seem to have put the rubber stamp on it, plus all the icing on top of the cake, with 2 wins plus an overall win in the feature race. You must be absolutely over on the moon.
Yeah, definitely really happy considering I didn't even turn a lap on the track in this car till tonight. I'm really happy. I did no practice at all. We was just jumped straight on tonight. Did a bit of practice before I joined the official session, and then did a bit of practice in that. But yeah, I was setting my quickest laps in the race. So yeah, maybe with a bit of practice I might have been a bit more comfortable. But yeah, other than that, really good.
Oh, goodness me. Going into this round with no practice and having to learn the circuit as you went effectively. Now, that is a huge testament to your driving ability and also how quickly you adapted today. And with that in mind, let's start off with qualifying. We saw for yourself a strong qualifying session, gradually bringing those laps together. How did you find it out there on the Sebring circuit? Because it is a tricky one with that road surface constantly changing.
Yeah, definitely. The track's really bumpy. It's got some hard corners. Not every corner's the same either. They've all got different curbs, different types of exits. So some have got little kinks on the exit. Some are a bit tighter. Some are a bit wider. But yeah, it is a hard track. And to be honest, on my second lap, I made a little mistake and lost some time. So I could have maybe done a bit better. But yeah, I was happy where I was starting.
Indeed, starting at P9 overall in the grid and third in class with your teammate Jack Ward taking pole position by what was in the end over yourself 6/10. But it looked as though it was always going to be more about the race. And just take us through the charge to turn number 1, because it looked as though it was 2 or 3 wide and it all narrows suddenly into turn number 3 in the sprint race.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the Jack, my teammate, didn't really get a good getaway. So I then went left. Humberstone, we went right, and we all went up to turn 1. And then one of Humberstone's teammates, Hatcher, was there as well. So we all went into the corners together. And because they had a better line run through the corner, obviously they both got in front of me. But then yeah, it was tight, but yeah, we made it work.
Well, indeed. After things settled down, you seemed to settle into a rhythm and started to pick them off one by one.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of them made a few little mistakes. Got past Hatcher. Humberstone made a mistake. Lost the rear as coming out the corner and just spun himself enough so I could get by. But yeah, then from then it was pretty comfortable. I was catching Fritsch towards the end, but other than that, it was a pretty lonely race after the first couple of laps. Once I'd gained the positions, but yeah, it was slightly boring, the race, but I think it's good when it's boring because it means you're doing all right.
Well, I can tell you one thing, it may have been boring for yourself, but that only led to a much more exciting feature from your perspective. Of course, finishing P7 overall in the sprint race meant you'd start on the front row, joined by Glenn Humberstone going into the feature race. Were you thinking about the move into turn one? What was your approach to the start of the race, given that you'd be starting on the front row and you'd have a load of gold drivers behind you all itching to get past?
Yeah, definitely is. One of them, I thought, just do a good start, do a decent enough start. Don't try not to get any wheel spin. Try not to overcook it. But yeah, I got a really good start straight away. Knew I was getting past Humberstone. So then on the brake, so just out braked him into the first corner, and thought, right, now try and get a little bit of a gap so you got a bit of breathing room, because I knew there'd be faster drivers coming through. And yeah, I was just basically try and get into the lead before turn one and get going.
Well, indeed, you got going, and when you started to make your way away, we saw quite a bit of chaos behind, but very gradually, well, you did have one of the Apex Misters drivers closing up behind you, and none other than Danny Hugendorn, who seemed to be constantly hounding you lap after lap.
Yeah, definitely. When he got behind me, obviously then he was quick, and I thought, right, he's probably going to catch me. But yeah, I was just make no mistakes. And it looked like he was quicker than me, and he could have probably got past me a couple of times, but he obviously didn't want to make contact or anything, so he was trying to be as clean as he could. But yeah, he was making a few little mistakes here and there, and it was just giving me them couple attempts that I needed breathing room each lap. And yeah, he just couldn't get on me at the right part of the track where he was quicker than me. Yeah, and unfortunately, he made a couple of mistakes.
Well, and in the end, those mistakes cost him dear, particularly one moment at Sunset Bend at the final corner, where he seemed to come right up the inside of you, but like a rocket, and went a bit too deep.
Yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, I knew he was there, and I knew he was coming into the last lap, so I wanted to get a good run coming off the last corner. I think I probably braked a little bit early just to try and get the run off the bend, because I didn't want him being too close to me on the pit straight. So I braked a little bit earlier, and it seems like he might have braked a little bit later than he thought. And yeah, he come flying up the inside of me, just missed me. Luckily, I spotted him as it was happening. But yeah, I think because I braked a bit earlier than I normally would, I think it might have caught him off guard, and I think he just braked a bit too late, and then obviously ended up in the wall. But yeah, he wanted to make the move cleanly. But yeah, I think that little mistake at the end there cost him.
Well, meanwhile, for yourself, as one of your challengers fell, another one was looming on the horizon in the form of Philipp Hammer. Of course, the gap in the end never quite came down. It was 3 seconds come the checkered flag. And I have to ask, what was it like when you crossed the finish line, knowing that you've added your name to a very limited list of drivers who can say that in the silver class they've won a race overall?
Yeah, it was sort of a weird moment, really, like, because obviously no practice tonight or anything like before tonight. I was thinking, just finish well tonight, try and get wins in my class. And yeah, obviously to do that, I was really happy with it. It's one of them races. I was under pressure the whole race, but I kept my cool, didn't make any mistakes. And yeah, obviously I knew Hammer was in third. And he was gaining on us a lot because he's a very quick driver. But yeah, just I just held it together, held my cool, and got it to the finish line without making too many mistakes. So yeah, definitely really happy. And yeah, it was I don't know how to explain it. It was like I went over the finish line, didn't really say anything, and I was like a bit overwhelmed a little bit, really. But yeah, really happy with how it went tonight. Yeah, probably my best race I've done in iRacing, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's absolutely brilliant to hear, and it naturally brings me on to the next question, which is looking at your championship campaign as a whole this season. You've been able to emulate what your Willacy Racing teammate Cameron Willacy was able to do in Season 4, which is really lead the field in the Silver class from start to finish. And of course, that does mean that as our Silver champion, you'll very likely be promoted to the Gold class next season. But before we talk about next season, on reflection, what has been your major highlight, or what have been your major highlights of this season?
To be honest, I think the first race I did, can't remember what track it was. It was the second round.
Autumn Park.
But yeah, Autumn Park might have been. But yeah, obviously turning up and doing really well and winning my sprint and feature first time out was a good thing. I didn't expect it, to be honest. And then yeah, probably the season highlight for me would probably be me and Cameron getting first and second. Obviously, both first in the gold class and silver class, and then first and second on track at Rudskogen. It was really good. And yeah, obviously tonight's another highlight, winning the feature overall. Really cool. I've really enjoyed racing this year or this season, and hopefully I can do some more in the future, and I look forward to it.
Oh, and we look forward to having you back on circuit. And does that mean we can say it's a yes from you coming back to defend, well, not quite defending your crown, but taking on the challenge of the gold class in Season 6?
Maybe. I'm going to see whether it still be possible to do it. Because of my real life racing, obviously I'm gonna be focusing on that. So if I can do it, I'm gonna try and do it. But yeah, if not, I'll definitely see you in a future season.
Well, whether it's next season or a future one, we'd love to see you back on the tarmac. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or a thank you to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, Lewis Willacy, Cameron Willacy, Jack Ward, obviously getting me involved. It was one of them things I didn't really know about until they mentioned it to me, and they knew I could do decent, so they all got me involved. And yeah, just thanks to them really getting me involved. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that, and we've enjoyed having you round in, round out, week in, week out. And well, with that, Ashley, it's my pleasure to once again say congratulations on being our Silver Drivers' Champion for Season 5 of the Porsche Cup, hosted by UKSimRacing. And whether you return in Season 6 or a later season, and we look forward to your return. But until then, congratulations on your superb results today, and thank you for joining me in the interview room.
Lovely. Thanks, Paul. Well, hopefully see you soon.
All the best.
Cheers. Thanks.
So hearing there from Ashley England, our dominant silver driver over the course of this season, our double winner today, putting his name in the history books as well as another silver driver on a very limited list to take an overall win in the feature race. And well, it could not have been a more perfect way to wrap up his championship campaign. And really, he has been the force out there, albeit Jack Ward, his teammate, has shown moments of brilliance as well. But Ashley England really has been the shining star, and when he does return, whether it's Season 6 or a future season after it, you can imagine he'll be taking his trade to the gold class and looking to try and emulate what his teammate Cameron Willacy was able to do this season in battling for the championship all the way down to the wire, but in the end having to settle for P3 in the championship. But still, Willacy Racing really showing their tough grit and determination over the course of this season, finishing runners-up as well in the team's championship, and Ashley England one of the key cornerstones of that effort. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our post-round interviews. You've only heard from one driver this evening, and that's the number 34 driver in the silver class of Ashley England from Willacy Racing. Perhaps he drove superbly throughout the season, as we say, and well, I think all the other drivers deciding to call it early today and get some rest in. I think they've definitely earned it, given the stellar show they've put on over the course of the 2 rounds of racing at Sebring International Raceway. But with that, and I guess on a rather sad note, it is for me to now say, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have enjoyed today's show and you want to know more about the UK sim racing community in terms of our ongoing series and everything else we stand for in between, whether it's on the virtual or the real motorsporting circuit, then why not firstly check out our official website, the link being UKSimRacing.co.uk. Alternatively, if you want to follow us on our social media, you can of course go to our official Twitter at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_. We'd also like to take this big moment to give a big thank you to our affiliates, and that is to our affiliates of Swelly Omeda Sim Racing Coaching first and foremost. And Swelly Omeda is the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist, where his sim racing coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swelly Omeda has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swelly being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 PESCC, you know you're receiving coaching for the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment, aiming to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Also Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide. So no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. We've also got SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high quality sim racing and related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports. With in-house engineering and production facilities which combine Dutch design and high-end craftsmanship, SimLab is the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. And lastly, Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, including but not limited to Amazon Prime, Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Fire TV. But as we look ahead to next time, ladies and gentlemen, well, there is no next time in terms of future rounds of this season. We're bringing the curtain down at this point, but the Porsche Cup shall be back for Season 6, and it all gets underway once again on Thursday, the 23rd of March, 2023. It's not long to go. It's only a few weeks away, in fact 3 weeks away if my mental math serves me correctly. And well, what can we expect in the upcoming season? Well, things are still being finalised. What we can confirm to you is that it is going to be another series of 8 rounds. In fact, as we do double check our notes there, in fact, it'll be 9 rounds there, and it will be matching up with the officials. So in terms of the iRacing officials, we'll be seeing the circuits and match up with the official racing series, and therefore it means that the stakes will be high in the fact that all the drivers will have plenty of opportunities to practice in the official iRacing series before taking their craft to the tarmac in the UK Sim Racing series. But how will they all get on in Season 6? Well, we'll raise the curtain and get things underway once again on Thursday, the 23rd of March, 2023. And if you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid, then head to our official website, UKSimRacing.co.uk today, and get yourselves signed into the UK Sim Racing Discord to guarantee your spot there, because the race will be fast, it'll be furious, and there's plenty to look forward to as the calendar gets underway. But until then, we've been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And with that, it really makes me sad to say this is the conclusion of Season 5, but I will be back in the commentary booth, I'm proud to say, for Season 6 to bring you all the racing action once again. And until then, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.